Trump has a wish list. I don't know if you guys saw the Amazon cart that they were posting. So his Christmas wish list is to regain control of the Panama Canal, to purchase Greenland, and to annex Canada. So all these exciting things that I've thought about all these things before. Like I look at the map, I see Greenland. It's like bigger than North and South America put together, and you see Greenland slash Denmark on it. So I always said, why is Denmark just entitled to this? So turns out we offered to purchase Denmark like all the way back to the end of World War II when after Germany temporarily took over Denmark, but then or excuse me, Greenland, but then Denmark said no. But now it's getting to be a matter of national security because the ice caps and I guess like you couldn't really navigate through that water up there for a long time, but now the ice is melting, so Russia's able to move ships through those seas. So like they're becoming shipping routes, and that's like the perfect barrier between us and Russia. So Trump is starting to make the national security argument for that, and then Denmark comes out harshly against that. Same thing with Canada. Trump starts speaking about Canada being the 51st state, and then one of the prime ministers of Canada comes out, or not prime ministers, one of the premiers of Canada comes out and says, "Oh, Trump, don't start saying that because we could cut off energy from you." And then Trump says we should retake control of the Panama Canal because we sold it for $1 after we were the ones who built it, and then the Panamanian government started threatening us. So, guys, out of these three things, what do you think is the most logical? What do you think makes the most sense? And what do you think could happen the fastest? I want to start with Viva actually, because this one is close to home.
Yeah, my prediction is none of them are going to happen. That it's sort of talk intended to stimulate negotiations over tariffs. Canada's not becoming a 51st state, despite the fact that a great many Canadians would love it. And I would say
What
probably
percent?
everyone. I would say everyone everyone west of Ontario will love it. I think Quebec would. I mean, not only not love it, they would love it as an excuse to become their
To
own separate
secede.
country. Yeah,
Yeah.
they've tried to do it twice, and they would love it as a pretext of basically if we're gonna and if America's gonna annex part of Canada, that at least Quebec can break off and become its own country. But it's not going to happen. Um, but what it is it's sort of tongue in cheek, attempting to maybe lay the groundwork for something of a North American union, like sort of like you got the European Union. Why not have a
Right.
North American Union with Mexico? I mean, you got NAFTA already, but uh, Canada is a de facto 51st state, whether we like to admit it or not. The only time it's going to become a problem for the states is when Canada becomes a national security threat to America. Then it might not be. You're not going to annex it as part of, as a 51st state, but you're certainly going to treat it potentially more adversarially than you treat it now, because I think it can, and if not, has already become something of a national security threat to the states. But bottom line, it's not going to happen. But it is a funny joke, and it is sensitizing the world to creating something of a North American Union, much along the lines of the European Union that we're witnessing, but different because the European Union is falling apart, and you wouldn't want to set that crap up over in North America.
Now, Brandon, what needs to happen is the Panama Canal. We need to take that by force. I mean, I don't know if you guys, remember what happened with the Houthis. They were blocking trade routes. This can happen right in our doorstep. Like that route is so important for imports, exports. To apply the tariffs, like not having control of the Panama Canal makes the whole tariff plan useless, absolutely useless. I can't believe they give up the Panama Canal, and this happened in Africa, South America, Southeast Asia. The Chinese go like, "Hey, this not doing great. We can give you some money to fix this canal," and then they take over. So I think the Canada thing is silly. It's funny. The Greenland thing will be awesome. We have a history of buying territories.
Yeah.
But the Panama Canal is the most important thing that Trump needs to do if he wants to apply tariffs. That's my take.
Yeah, I agree. And I mean, I think Panama Cal is most justified and most reasonable because, like, who said that they wanted Jimmy Carter to sell that for $1? I mean, I don't know, like, what kind of charity tour he was on, but we built the thing, we sold it for $1. I don't think it would take a whole lot of force to take it back. I don't even think force is needed. I think just maybe a nice deal where Panama benefits from it if we pay them like a couple of years total revenue of the Panama Canal. I think it generates like $3 billion a year. So give them a quick $20 billion, and tell them we'll give them some security or something. We could work something out. Greenland, I think What do you think Greenland's worth? $1 trillion?
I don't know. Let's find out.
It depends.
What's the Zillow estimate on the entire country of Greenland?
They offered $100 million on it in, after World War II. So
That feels disrespectful. That's entire country, $100 million.
in $1940, I know our stimulus was more than that.
But back then it was nothing. Like there wasn't any trade routes, there wasn't any suspicion of oil. Like it was just a piece of crap land back then.
Yeah, and the ice wasn't melted yet.
On the Panama front, not only do I support fully retaking the Panama Canal, I support annexing everything between the U.S. and Panama on the way down.
Making it part of the U.S.?
Yeah, we talked about this a long time ago when there was some big issue between Trump, or not Trump, but Lopez Obrador back when he was in office, saying something about
I remember that.
Oh yeah, build that effing wall.
yeah. I made some posts. I made a post on X. You can still find it if you follow me. But basically saying the annexation and pacification of the failed narco state of Mexico is the only war the United States should be fighting right now.
100%.
Because of cartel control, the massive importing of fentanyl, the alliance with China that is allowing drugs to flood across our border, the fact that they are mass importing people from other countries to then traffic through Mexico to cross our borders. Mexico is barely a country at this point. Its government is controlled by corrupt interests that are hostile to the United States. So you know what? Think about how much easier the southern border of America would be to enforce if it was the length of Panama rather than spanning from California to Texas.
What's south of Mexico? You want to take all those countries that are south of Mexico too?
All of it.
So would that be Colombia, Venezuela?
No,
Too far down.
you're going too far.
You're way too far down.
So
The
the states on the Yucatan Peninsula and then Panama. And you know what? We just by blanket decree say, hey, guess what? All of you are now American citizens with the full rights and responsibilities. Your resources belong to us, but can be accessed by you because you are American citizens. Your businesses are now incorporated into our economy. And then we immediately begin drone striking cartel compounds, followed by a full land invasion. The Mexican president, who I believe is now currently Claudia Sheinbaum, becomes governor of the new territory until we sufficiently break it up according to congressional districts. And that's how we solve the border crisis.
That's kind of chaotic.
No, but it's really the only conflict we should be fighting. Is it any less chaotic than our constant Middle Eastern interventions that give us absolutely nothing? Where we bog ourselves down in permanent war. But as far as what's north, Canada, like we mentioned, basically already a state. Like, what does Canada do that we don't give them permission to do and help them accomplish? Greenland, honestly, the first time anybody heard a peep out of Greenland internationally in the last century was when they said, no, we're not for sale, when Trump offered to buy them the first time. So I definitely think Trump is not suggesting full invasions or, possible takeovers. It's more along the lines of let's get everybody on the same page, some sort of North American Union alliance where we all work together on that. But it's nice to see at least the return of expansionist manifest destiny rhetoric. Once upon a time, it's what pushed us from east to west and said America's God-given right is to take the entire continent from sea to shining sea. Now I think we ought to take it from the Arctic to the Panama Canal. Manifest destiny goes to the south this time.
Do you know what the population of Greenland is?
Is it like
6?
10,000?
It's 58,000. I mean, the not the 50,000. I would say. Sorry, go for it.
Their GDP in 2021 was 3.2 billion.
Wow.
Not bad for a population that small, but
They get a $600 million subsidy from from Denmark. Sorry, I don't know why I said Australia.
How much per year? Okay.
Well, no. The amazing thing is it's military and route utility or what's the word I'm looking for in terms of melting ice caps and whether or not we're going to have a trade route or a military route through the Arctic. That's more plausible. But yeah, I mean, what does Denmark do with it that they would not turn down the money for? What would be enough for it? 3 point some odd billion GDP. I forget what would you do in terms of business? Would you multiply that by 7 in order to determine its value?
Yeah, pretty much.
That's more possible.
Plus natural
Taking over the
resources.
but what does taking over the Panama Canal look like in reality? I mean, but for that being a military intervention, I don't know how you take over the Panama Canal
I think you
without
start with a
setting up.
bribe.
Well,
Big
the
bribe.
provision of when Carter handed it over to Panama to control itself was that the United States always has reserved the right to come back and retake control of it if Panama ever fails to operate it as a neutral international waterway. Everyone recognized that it is so strategically important that it should be made available to everyone. Like it shouldn't just be one country taking control of this and leveraging everything else. So when Trump is talking about going back and re-exerting our control, it's legal according to the allowance we established under Carter, but also it's not driven by this desire of we need to control global trade. It is Panama is mismanaging it and allowing China to take complete control of it. And just recently, there was a big drought that kind of dried up a lot of the waterways. So there was a huge shipping bottleneck, and they jacked up the price of getting through the canal by like 300%. So mismanagement, because part of the problem with the drought is that the canal runs off the same water that is used to water the crops and give running drinking water to the people who live in the area, which seems like just a really bad way of conducting that. Like you have critical infrastructure that is also a major shipping lane. Like you need a little bit of a distinction there.
And like, why do you need where there's an ocean next to you? Like, I'm sure modern art engineering can fix that. Like, if it's not Panamanian engineering it.
And now on the question how it would look in reality, I'm gonna channel my best Dick Cheney energy here, and this is how I will do it. I will find 2 opposing groups inside Panama. All right, found them both, arm them, start a war between the North Panama and South Panama, and then I will have a DMC kind of Korea situation, and then take over that little stretch of land, and then we get it back. That's what it is.
You know what's amazing?
Neocon.
I never even realized the Panama Canal is fresh water. I thought it was salt water because it connects the two coasts. That's interesting. It's fresh water that's separated to preserve the natural fauna.
It's a series of water locks because they also have to go up in elevation, where it's not just a straight trench they can sail through. They have to go through the fills to raise them up, and that's why it was such a feat of engineering, because it's not just digging a hole. And that's why there's fresh water in the middle that also the local population relies on. So clearly Panama is failing both international shipping and its own people. They're like, hey, sorry, we're out of water for your house and your food. We got to run another ship through to extract higher customs duties or whatever they charge there. So that really is it's one of these things where people make jokes about Trump having these ridiculous ideas like they did in 2016 or in his first term. But they're actually pretty solid when you get down to the core of it. He's not saying let's invade Panama and overthrow a sovereign country. It's the canal itself that we gave to them under the assumption that they would manage it properly, and we reserved the right to go back if it was not properly managed. Well, guess what? It's not being properly managed anymore, so it's time for us to go back, unless Panama straightens itself out and actually does their job.
I agree with Viva that I don't think any of these things are going to happen, maybe not in the next 4 years, but I think it harkens back to my point earlier from Connor's segment that, again, if that threat, if that like, hey, like I told you these are the rules, isn't there to like make them step up, then they're just going to keep doing what they've always been doing.
So if you like this clip, click right here. And if you want to see more like it, click right here. Stay angry, Patriots.